thank you for joining me for another iTWire video. I'm here with Andrew Findlay. He is the Managing Director of Vertel, and at a lunch event to learn about the new digital mobile radio network. Welcome, Andrew, to the program.
Thank you, Alex.
So if you could please just start off by just giving a quick history of Vertel and a little bit about your role at the company.
Yeah, so I'm the MD of the business. I started in '97. The business started in 1973 when two-way radio was a very new and sexy technology.
Yep.
And we were able to secure the rooftops of a lot of tall buildings to start providing a managed two-way radio service. So that's where we started. And over the last 4 years we've developed to continue to build critical networks for both fixed and mobile for government, enterprise and service provider organisations.
Sure. Now, we live in an age of 3G networks, 4G networks, voice over LTE, and one of the things you announced today was the introduction of a new national digital mobile radio network. So, why have you invested in that? What are the benefits and advantages of this technology?
Yeah, sure. So we've had two-way radio for a long time. It's been since the early '70s, which is, as I said, where we started.
And that would have been analog, of course.
Yeah, it was very much analog driven. And in those days, analog was the networks were and still are very much private communication islands almost. Mm-hmm. And with a lot of customers who still use two-way radio, they like it for its immediacy of push to talk. They like it for its cost effectiveness. They like it for its way that it suits their business. But the migration to digital is about, in all things today digital, it's about having an IP packet that can be shared and interconnected to any other sort of system. So rather than an isolated communications network, it's now part of a larger IP comm strategy.
So obviously you can't just listen into it with the scanner, so you've got much more security, and presumably you can also use apps on your mobile phone to interact. You don't just have to use a specific digital mobile radio.
Yeah, correct. So on the on the security side, you get the inherent benefits of digital. You've got the ability to encrypt the traffic as well. Mm-hmm. But then, as you said correctly, it's about being able to make that network talk to any mobile phone, talk to a console, talk to an intercom system, talk to anything that's IP enabled. So that's really the big focus of it.
Are you going to be using it for any sort of industrial Internet of Things? You mentioned SCADA.
Yeah, so it's got the potential to do what would be considered quite low-speed data, but I suppose the benefit of this particular type of data, it's really mission critical. So when it has to get there, it will get there. And when you're turning on and off valves and pumps and electricity meters and opening gates, etc., that's a really important thing to know that the data will get there exactly when you need to get there.
Now, a lot of your customers or potential customers will have existing fleets of analog equipment and presumably some earlier generation digital equipment. How does your network work with all that existing technology?
Yeah, so one of the key parts of our selection of our vendor was in making or allowing a smooth migration from an analog to a digital platform. So we can run the network in mixed mode, so we can run part of the fleet in analog and part in digital, which is a technical benefit, but also the benefit of being able to manage the cost of migrating to it.
Well, because otherwise everyone would have to upgrade to brand new equipment, and that would be a much more expensive proposition.
Yeah, that's right. And for a lot of businesses, that big capital cost was something that was restraining some of that move. And to address that, we've also introduced some finance packages where, similar to the mobile model of today, there's advice that you rent essentially, or it's
get on a contract, so
the cost is incorporated in your overall contract. Yeah.
So who is your partner in Australia for deploying all of this?
So we've selected Tait, which has been our partner for the last 30 odd years in MPT, which is the analog standard before DMR. Mm-hmm. So Tait's a New Zealand company, and
but they service companies globally, don't they?
They do. So they're one of New Zealand's real success stories. Yeah. And they've and I suppose the nature of two-way radio being quite underplayed in terms of people don't really see it every day, but it's there. They're certainly one of the success stories in the overall global market for two-way radio. So they're the guys that we've gone with, and they've proved to be a great partner.
Sure. Now you're calling it a national network, but you've got 3 phases. What's the first phase? What's the second phase? What's the third phase? And how does this interlink with your existing analog national network?
Right. So the first phase is to go off and take care of our metro coverage. So that's in all of the metro areas of Australia. Yeah. The second phase is to upgrade all of our existing networks. So we've got networks that go into all the major and some of the minor capital and regional centres, and the transport routes as well. Mm-hmm. And because we're using quite different frequencies to the mobile space, we get a lot better coverage. So with fewer sites, we get similar coverage. Yeah. And then phase 3 is really looking at organisations that have got private networks currently. We want to incorporate that into the broader network, So they still get the benefits of being a private network, but they get the advantages of taking the overall national network.
So they can basically roam and be in some other location and yet still be able to access their own people, because it's all IP based anyway.
Yeah, very much. So a council that might have had 7 sites to cover a regional part of NSW will now have the ability to take that same infrastructure and be able to have connectivity outside their primary coverage area, which for some organisations they don't have a great demand to go outside those areas, except for in those emergency services situations where you've got a flood in Coffs Harbour and the people from Lismore and Port Macquarie all go into those areas.
That's how the benefit of the network can work, because it's a different council area, but it's just that you've got emergency services people and they haven't got to change radios, they're just using the existing equipment. Yeah. So when should phase 2 be complete and when should phase 3 be complete, roughly?
So we're looking to have phase 2 completed in the next 18 to 24 months, and phase 3, and to have the whole phase 3 network done in about the next 36 months. So that's a reasonably aggressive time for us, but it's manageable within our other projects we've got at the moment.
Sure. And so just looking into the crystal ball, what do you think the wireless industry will look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
I really think the whole virtualization story across the cloud story, where everything's as a service, and even some of the conversations we had today were really about having a virtualized mobile base station that can talk any frequency, any protocol.
Software-defined radio.
And it's a software-defined radio that can be linked to a fixed network and have a channel on demand. So that's where we think it's going, and certainly by having the first step to digital, we give ourselves a platform to have that interoperability and functionality of that sort of network.
Sure. My second last question is always to ask you if you could share a really good piece of advice that's helped you to get where you are today. Just for something different, you know?
Yeah, for something different? No, well, probably 2 things I can think of. The first is my father. This is a family business of ours. He started in the 70s. He told me once, or many times, don't get involved in business you know nothing about.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, who was an SB bookmaker, told me once, don't play cards with anyone called Ace. So
I'm sure they're 2 very good pieces of advice.
They are, yeah.
And so do you have any final messages for iTWire viewers and readers and for your current and potential customers?
Just that we're really excited about what we're doing in this next phase of our growth. We're really proud to have supported a lot of our customers who have been really great supporters of ours over these last 40 years, and we hope to provide the same level of support and customer service going forward as what we do today.
Great. Andrew, thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex.